Hello, my name is Matt and this is Pixel Burn, where I take a look at some of the more important, interesting or even irritating things to have happened in the week's gaming news, which still isn't very much admittedly, but starting to look a bit better than it was last month, which was just painfully slow for news. I suppose that's what I get for not just mindlessly regurgitating press releases like everyone else does. First of all, literally seconds after I started uploading last week's Pixel Burn, news came from Alamogordo, New Mexico that ET cartridges had indeed been discovered in a landfill south of the city. As you'll know if you watched last week's episode, Atari reportedly buried millions of copies of its E.T. the Extraterrestrial game for the Atari 2600 in a desert landfill back in 1983. Last week, here in Space Year 2014, a film crew from Microsoft Xbox Entertainment were excavating the site for an upcoming documentary to see if there was any truth to the story. And it turns out there was, as well as original ET cartridges for the Atari 2600, some still in their original shrink-wrapped packaging. The film crew also found cartridges for decent games like Space Invaders, Defender and Centipede buried amongst the trash. So, there we have it. An urban legend is confirmed as true and a piece of video gaming history is literally dug up from the ground, almost like proper archaeology. Although I still do prefer my own terrifying prediction for the dig. Speaking of ancient cosmic evils laying waste to the earth, rumours that a remastered Mass Effect trilogy coming to Xbox One and PS4 got a boost this week when Chilean video game retailer Zmart Games, or Zmart Games, or Zmart, or however you choose to pronounce it, accidentally showed both versions on its site. Needless to say, the evidence has since been removed, but this is the internet, so of course people took screenshots before that happened. Screenshots can be photoshopped of course, so that's hardly conclusive proof. In fact, if you know some rudimentary HTML and CSS, you can get a website to show pretty much whatever you want it to in your own browser, like I've done here with the IGN front page. But if The Last of Us can get a remastered version, and before the PS3 one even got within spitting distance of a bargain bin no less, I see no reason that the Mass Effect trilogy can't get the same treatment for a whole new generation to enjoy. It's certainly something that's been discussed internally at BioWare, as confirmed by BioWare GM Aaron Flynn in this Twitter exchange with a Mass Effect fan. Discussion is not the same as doing of course, although at least BioWare haven't entirely ruled it out, unlike those big fat fibbing fibbers at Naughty Dog who outright said they weren't planning a PS4 version of The Last of Us, while they were busy making the PS4 version of The Last of Us. For the record, I do actually like the idea of a remastered Mass Effect trilogy, very much so in fact. Barring the last 5 or so minutes of Mass Effect 3, it's a fantastic series of games that have more than earned their place as classics of the previous generation. Though I wouldn't mind seeing some sort of upgrade deal for any possible PC versions a la Deus Ex Human Revolution's Director's Cut. Hint hint BioWare. And while we're on the subject of rumours and scuttlebutt, screenshots have circulated via NeoGAF of what is reportedly the next game from Dark Souls and Demon Souls creators From Software. Bearing the working title Project Beast, the following horribly compressed screenshot should look nevertheless comfortably familiar to fans of From Software's previous dark fantasy adventures, particularly this shot of a character walking through a doorway full of fog, a recurring event in the Souls series and one that often results in death. Lending some credence to this are some not so cryptic posts from known industry insiders on NeoGAF, including this chappie, who is confirmed to work for Sony and has been dropping hints as far back as last year. And earlier in April of this year, Japanese gaming magazine Famitsu investigated rumours that From Software and Sony were working on a PS4 exclusive sequel to Demon Souls, for which Sony owns the IP rights. When asked about this by Famitsu, Sony would only say, "We have nothing to announce at this time," which is so blatantly saying we're totally making a sequel to Demon Souls without actually directly saying we're totally making a sequel to Demon Souls, that they could only be more blatantly saying we're totally making a sequel to Demon Souls if they wrote we're totally making a sequel to Demon Souls in the skies above Tokyo. And in response to this, Famitsu completely disregarded the rumours because no games company would ever keep anything from their gaming press. It's also worth mentioning that the reason Hidetaka Miyazaki, the producer for Dark Souls, was not the producer for Dark Souls 2 is that he's been working full-time on another unannounced project since 2012. Assuming these screenshots are genuine and not a very elaborate hoax by someone with way too much time on their hands, it's reasonable to assume they are related to Miyazaki's next project. Whether that is an actual Demon Souls 2, another spiritual successor in the vein of Dark Souls, or something entirely different however, remains to be seen. All any of us can do right now is speculate until the cows come home, die, get resurrected at a bonfire and then die again. I mean, look at the main character's hat in this screenshot for example. For all we know, this could be a next-gen sequel to Shakan the Forever Man on the Sega Mega Drive. For those who have never heard of it, Shakan the Forever Man was a punishingly difficult game with a dark fantasy setting, in which you played an immortal undead warrior doomed to die and be resurrected repeatedly again and again until you had slain 4 mighty supernatural beings and taken their power for yourself. Huh. Speaking of doing things for power, thanks to those cheeky scamps at Destructoid who acquired the trailer for it from a trusted source, the next Call of Duty game was revealed to the world 2 days before it was officially supposed to. And as you can see, I can barely contain my excitement. Woo. This newest installment goes by the imaginative title of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and is being developed by Sledgehammer Games, who previously worked with Raven Software and what's left of Infinity Ward on Modern Warfare 3. Now, like Treyarch before them, they've been given their own slice of the cod pie to work on, and they've been busy adding new ingredients like hover bikes, power armour, cloaking devices, magic sci-fi climbing gloves, and actor Kevin Spacey. In fact, Kevin's presence made watching this trailer a somewhat surreal experience for me, because while my eyes were seeing one thing, my brain was processing it all as something completely different. Try as I might, I just couldn't shake the idea that this was the trailer for a weird, alternate universe version of House of Cards, where Frank Underwood quits politics, starts a private military corporation and then seizes control of America by force of arms, then puts Gwyneth Paltrow's head in a cardboard box.
I'm trying to tell you how much I admire you, and you're pretty white, so I took a souvenir. Her pretty head.
I mean, for pity's sake, the trailer even has the tagline, "Power changes everything." Seriously, this couldn't be more House of Cards the FPS if it tried. Anyhow, if you're looking forward to following Kevin Spacey around while he opens doors for you, then Call of Duty Advanced Warfare is due for release on November 4th of this year. That's all for this episode of Pixel Burn. If you liked it, please do let me know, and let your friends, your family and your dogs know as well. At the very least, I hope you found it tolerable. And if you didn't like it, well, you may certainly think that. I couldn't possibly comment. Except to say you can go now.